Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Tianya, and in this video I'm going to show you how I got these boho knotless braids, and I'm going to focus on the little tips that will help you successfully complete the style either on your hair or on someone else's. I've seen this video a bunch of times on YouTube, or this style a bunch of times. It's super trendy right now, but I wanted to make it a little bit different and focus on the details. So if you're interested, keep watching.
So here's how I prep the pre-stretched braiding hair as well as the human wavy hair. I'm just going to do a few sections so that this video isn't too long, because you just need to know the tips and tricks to get it done. So I'm starting with detangling. Side note, I look exhausted in this video because I stayed up all night to do these braids. And I'm going to use this gel just to lay my roots. You've probably seen this if you watch any other tutorials. Whenever you want a nice, clean, crisp scalp, or you want your parts to look clean and crisp, shining gel jam, or just really any kind of jam, is going to help lay the base of your hair. And it's also going to help you get really straight parts. Obviously, I'm doing my own hair, and so my parts aren't as straight as I probably could get them if I were doing someone else's hair. But to me, to save, at least $200, this is good enough. So I'm just going to point out what I'm doing, but because I show this like a million times throughout this video, I suggest that you make sure you watch all the way to the end, because it can seem confusing at first, but I show it multiple times. So I think by the end of this video, it's going to be pretty clear. I do about 2 passes with my fingers before I add the pre-stretched braiding hair, and I slip it right underneath my pointer finger there, and I do my 3rd pass and my 4th pass. This is pass 5 and pass 6. I slow it down here and kind of take it back because I want you to see how I use my ring finger right over top of that where the knot would be, to just kind of keep it flat right there. And then I use the comb to flatten the roots of my hair. So my ring finger is always resting on top of the braid just to keep it flat and so that I can feel to make sure there are no bumps. So after about 6 passes, I take another piece of braiding hair really thin. Sometimes it's like 4 passes. It's not even always 6 passes. It's between 4 to 6 passes, depending on where I am on my head. But I really like to get that hair in, because I only use 2 pieces. I like to get it in my head as soon as possible so that I don't have to add any more along the way. However, if you're like at the top of your hair, which is where I am, you might have to do 6 passes to bring the hair down a little bit further so it stretches, because the hair is going to be longer in the back than it is at the top, because it has further to go down your face and along your back. So while I might only do 3 passes in the back and then add the braiding hair, the second piece of braiding hair, at the top I might do 6 passes with the first piece of braiding hair and then add the second piece of braiding hair just to make the braid longer. So after about 6 passes of braiding, I then add in the wavy human hair. And I'm sorry I'm a little bit out of frame here, but I just go ahead and twist it right on in along the braid. The same way that I'm braiding, I just sit it right on top of the hair and continue to braid. I'm using my fingers to make sure that it's nice and smooth, because I do feel a bit of a lump here. So I end up just taking it out and doing it again, because I didn't like that there was a little bump there. And so however many times you need to do it, girl, do it. Okay, especially if you're doing it yourself, because as long as you're not limited on time, then it doesn't matter. But if you're limited on time, you're not really going to see the braided part, which is why we're trying to add as much of the wavy natural hair so that braid is going to be covered up anyway. So I was just really trying to get the base of my hair nice and neat, because that's pretty much the only part that you really see once the hairstyle is done. So this is like my 3rd time going to add that wavy human hair in, and this is the time that finally it comes out nice and smooth and I can just continue to braid it down. I'm checking with my fingers as always, and as I braid, I do about 6 passes, I should say, with the wavy hair. That's 1, that's 2, again checking, and then that's 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I pull the wavy hair out hold it with my mouth and continue to braid down. When I feel like I've reached the bottom of the end of the wavy hair, I use some more jam just to make sure none of those little pieces come poking out. Every now and then it still did poke out, but for the most part, it stayed in. I did about 8 passes, and I'm adding my next piece of wavy human hair. I will say that in between the wavy human hair, the passes weren't always consistent, although I did try to make them consistent with 8 passes each time. I kind of eyeballed it, and I think that in between each wavy hair, there's about an inch or 1.5 inches of space on each braid. So altogether, I added about 8 or 9 pieces of wavy hair to each single braid. Notice how I'm also checking with my fingers to make sure that the braid stays consistently smooth along the way with not too many bumps. Here's another example of me adding the wavy human hair. I'm putting it right along the braid as I'm braiding. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I pull the wavy hair out. I continue to braid for about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. This ends up being about 8 or 9 passes before I add another piece of curly hair. Again, braid it right along the braid, or lay it right along the strands of the braid, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 again, and then pull the wavy hair out. So each time I'm adding a piece of wavy hair, I braid down 6, pull the wavy hair out, braid down about 8 to 10 more, which equates to about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, and then add another piece of wavy hair, just as you see me doing. You can rewind this a million times and watch, because this is pretty consistent. I mean, it might be off by 1 or 2 passes, but this is generally what I did for my entire head. After 6 passes of the human wavy hair, I pull it out to hold it, and I braid down for another 1 inch to 1.5 inches, which equates to about 8 to 10 passes before I add another piece of human hair. So it's human hair, braid down 6 passes, take the human hair out, braid down 8 to 10 more passes, add another piece of human hair. Braid down 6 passes, take the human hair out, braid down another 8 to 10 passes, put in another piece of human hair. So I'm doing this constantly over and over again. Because I've already said it a million times, I'm going to be quiet and let you watch the rest. You'll see at the end of the video what the full strand looks like and then what the entire head looks like. Remember to use your fingers to feel at the base and make sure it's nice and smooth. Remember to use the braiding gel for those straight parts. And remember to use the braiding gel when you get to the bottom part of that short piece of wavy hair so that it's not sticking out of the braid too much as you braid your hair.
Every second, every minute, man, I swear that she can get it. Saying you a bad bitch, put your hands up high, hands up high, hands up high. Till I feel the lights down right now, put me in the mood. I'm talking about dark perfume, go.
I recognize your fragrance, hold up, you ain't never gotta say shit, and I know your taste is a little bit, high maintenance, everybody else basic, you live life on an everyday basis, with poetic justice, poetic justice. If I told you that a flower bloomed in a dark room, would you trust it? I mean, I write poems in these songs, dedicated to you, and you're in the mood for empathy, there's blood in my pen, better yet with your friends and them, I really wanna know you all, I really wanna show you off.
As you can see, I kind of skipped a piece of wavy hair at the bottom. That wasn't really intentional. I kind of just got carried away and I started braiding too far down. But for the most part, the rest of the braid is about 1 inch to 1.5 inches apart for each curly piece. And you just add another curly piece on the end, braid it down, and you're done. I'm going to show you a little later how I add that final piece at the end of the braid and how I get it to stay. But just in case you need to see this a few more times, I'm starting all over from the beginning because repetition is key, so that you can really get this style, and hopefully this makes it easier for you to do it. I only pass about 2 times before I add the braiding hair underneath my pointer finger, and then I pass. Because I'm at the top of my hair, I'm going to braid down about 6 times. At the back of my hair, because I don't really need the length because the hair is already long at the back, I only braid down about 2 more times. But because I'm at the top and I really want the length at the top because I want the front to be as long as the back is, I braid with that first piece about 6 times down before I add my second piece of braiding hair. I'm making sure that I'm feeling with my fingers that it's nice and smooth. I'm holding with my ring finger down to make sure that the braid is laying flat, and I'm just smoothing out with my finger as I go. I braid down about 6 more times before I add that wavy human hair in. I add the human hair flat along the strands that I'm braiding with. I braid down 6, pull the human hair out, and continue to braid down for 1 inch or 1.5 inches, which equates to about 8 to 10 passes before I add my second piece of human hair and the gel to make sure it stays nice and flat.
Nigga don't approach your whip that a turret. Nigga that ain't good game home is sorry. They say conversation rule a nation. I can tell, but I could never right my wrongs unless I write it down for real. P.S. You can get it, you can get it, you can get it, you can get it. And I don't you what you want. Oh, why the Duchess put it in the song. Alright. You can get it, you can get it, you can get it.
When I get down to the bottom, I take the smallest piece of human hair, braid it in, and I take about 3 to 5 of those strands, pull it a little bit upward, and just tie a bunch of knots around the bottom of the braid to ensure that the braid is nice and secure. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit the notification bell, and subscribe for more like this. Thanks for watching.